How's it going, everyone? Today we got a story time of a Gen Alpha kid who is cooked. This Gen Alpha kid has so much brain rot that he ends up looking up some pretty sus brain rot stuff, gets caught by his teacher, his mom gets called in, and his mom confronts him in front of the entire class. It is absolutely crazy. If you're cringe, I will say, if you do not have a high cringe tolerance, maybe this is not the story for you. But if you're prepared, then buckle up. Leave a like on the video right now to claim your free nothing. Subscribe to the channel if you are new and like stories. And with that being said, guys, as always, let's just jump right into it. Anyways, so we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Buckley. I don't think I've ever used that name before. Trying to kind of circle through a little bit. Anyways, Buckley was in class. And in his class, he had a friend, and we're going to call this friend Charlie. And Buckley and Charlie always kind of sat in the back of class together. Doesn't mean that they were necessarily bad students, right? Buckley was actually a fairly decent student, just because, you know, during class, maybe he didn't want to lock in as much. Maybe he didn't want to pay as much attention, right? But also in this class, there's another character, a very, very important character. We're going to call this character Ben. If you've been around on the channel for a while, you know that's not a surprise. But anyways, right, Ben was a Gen Alpha kid. And I know a lot of people who are watching this video are in kind of the Generation Alpha. And when I say Gen Alpha kid, I don't necessarily mean someone who was born within the certain years it takes to be in Gen Alpha, right? Like back when I was getting a lot of stories about Gen Z kids, bro, I'm in Gen Z, right? I think so. It doesn't necessarily mean because you're in Gen Z or in Gen Alpha that you're a Gen Z kid or a Gen Alpha kid. When I call you a Gen Alpha kid, I mean that you have brain rot. You think you're a Sigma. You're mewing all day, so you have no time to talk to me. You understand that Baby Gronk rizzed up Livy Dunn. You know what that means. That you're probably watching 25 hours of skibidi toilet every single day, and you unironically think that you have skibidi rizz, and you're about to scare all the baddies away. That's what I mean when I call you a Gen Alpha kid. So Ben, imagine everything I just said. Ben was a quintessential Gen Alpha kid. He was all of that times 10, which I know sounds like, Connor, that's not even possible. No way someone can be like that amount of brain rot. No one can be like a cringe lord to that kind of degree. But all I'm going to say is like, think again. Because Ben has your wildest imagination. He has you beat there. And I know you hate to admit that you're wrong in something, but I'm sorry, guys. In this case, you are. Ben is worse than you think. So this kid has been a menace for a while. You know, for example, one day in class, he would not stop singing the Skibidi Toilet song. So anyways, when he got into class, people are kind of chatting. You know, Buckley and Charlie are in the back of class, kind of, you know, hanging out, chatting, whatever. And you just hear, skibidi, bop, 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 yes, yeah, like in the front of the class. And obviously, everyone else is like, bro, you cannot be serious. Like, this kid's got to shut up. He's like, skimmy, bop, 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 yes, yeah, skimmy, bop, bop, beep, beep. And eventually the teacher comes in. And it's like, all right, class, quiet down, class. Like, today we're going to be talking about Roman numerals and history and dinosaurs and space aliens and all that kind of good stuff that we learn about in class. And this kid, Ben, was still like, skimmy, bop, 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 yes, yes, skimmy, bop, bop, beep, beep. And so eventually, like, the teacher's like, hey, Ben, like, I'm talking here. I'd really appreciate it if you could quiet down a little bit. You know, I like some good music myself as well, but maybe right now it's not the best time for that, buddy. Like, this teacher had a very, very long temper. He had a very, very long fuse, which makes the ending / climax of the story even more interesting. Because I gave away a little bit of it at the beginning to keep you guys to stay for the whole thing, because I get it. It's a long video, but it's worth it. But yeah, this teacher has a long fuse. So after about a couple minutes of the teacher turning around and starting to write down stuff on the board, being like, all right, class, now I'd like you all to take out your textbooks and move it to page like 56, pick up where we left off. You kind of hear in the back of your ear a little bit of a skimmy bop bop bop, yes, yes, skimmy bop bop beep beep. And it's very, very quiet. In the beginning, it's very quiet. Kind of creeps up. At first, you think you're going a little crazy, because at the very peripheral of your conscious awareness, you hear a little skibidi bop bop bop, yes, yes, skimmy bop bop beep, and you're like, is that real? Am I imagining things? Has brain rot infected me too? Do I have skibidi toilet syndrome? And then slowly, right? And then slowly you start to hear it a little bit louder. And then slowly, you hear it even louder. And at this point, the teacher, who we're going to call Mr. Davenport. I don't know, like 2 years ago, I started calling the teachers in these stories Mr. and Mrs. Davenport, and it's stuck. So we're calling him Mr. Davenport. Anyways, Mr. Davenport, who was writing something on the board, turns around slowly. He's like, hey, Ben, buddy, if you could do me a big old favor and not be singing during class. As I said before, I'm all for music. And, in between classes or before or maybe during your free period, like 100%, man, like go ahead and, sing all the songs you want to. But, buddy, in class really can't be having that. Fine, right? A little bit of time goes by. And once again, you hear them peripheral. A little bit later. And then at this point, Mr. Davenport is like, Ben, buddy, for the sake of everyone else in this class and their ability to learn, if you're singing, I can't you sing one more time? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. It's nothing that bad, man. Like, sorry, buddy. It's just like, for the sake of everyone else. And Ben, crosses his arms, is all upset and angry. I don't know how this kid, didn't realize that maybe him singing the skibidi toilet theme song super loudly while the teacher was teaching the lesson was perhaps a bad idea. And maybe it was disrupting other people, right? Maybe. Sounds crazy, right? You might be thinking, okay, Connor, I get it. Ben's not that great. He's a Gen Alpha kid. He has maximum brain rot. But that's a Gen Alpha kid. I'm not done. There's another story. About a couple weeks before this, there's a girl in the class. We're going to call her Ava, right? So Ava's in the class, and she's kind of known as the popular girl, whatever. And she, Buckley and Charlie, they all got crush on her, whatever. And Ben decides that, he's going for the prize, man. He's going for the prize. He's going in, and he's going to go in and be like, I'm the one who's she's going to be my girlfriend, and I, to an extent, in isolation, I can give him a little bit of respect for trying, right? I will say that in this world, so many people in the world of Tinder and Instagram and Snapchat messages. And look, for a while, I was very much like this too. I wouldn't try. If I liked a girl, I would ask her friends, ask a friend to ask a friend to ask a friend to ask a friend about me. Do not do that, guys. Just ask. She says no. All right, cool. She says yes, upside potential. It's you got it, you won. She says no, it's temporary. I got to say it like this, temporary embarrassment versus the reward, the potential reward of you get the girl of your dreams. To me, that's no question. It's no question. Anyways, though, so sure enough, right, Ben decides that he's going for the prize. But unfortunately, Ben had been taking lessons at Rizzler's Academy. I don't even know what that means. A couple videos ago, we had a story of a Gen Alpha kid going to Sigma school. Now we have a kid going to Rizzler's Academy. I don't know. So basically, Ben had been watching 17,000 hours of Andrew Tate compilations, and he was like, it looks like for me to get a girl to be interested in me, I need to have plenty of squibbity whiz and also be of Sigma like Andrew and Twist and Tate. Okay, that makes sense. He learned very quickly that was not the case. Anyways, so 2 weeks ago on that fateful day, Ava's sitting there, she's got her little, if you guys ever watched the movie Mean Girls, I feel like I've only watched it once, many, many, many years ago, but I've referenced it so many times throughout these stories I tell that I should honestly watch it again to make sure I'm not misquoting it or misreferencing it. But basically, there's a main girl. I forgot her name. It's been so long. And then she kind of had these other girls that would float around her. They were barely friends, but they were basically her minions because they wanted to feed off of her popularity and kind of be like, oh, I want a little chunk of this. I want a little chunk of what you have going, right? But it's kind of a similar situation here. Ava was not the nicest, but for some reason in high school, and guys, I can't tell you exactly why this is the case, but for some reason in high school, the popular, a lot of times, sometimes it's not true. Sometimes the popular person is awesome and they're nice and everything about them is cool. But more often than not, in my experience, right, it seems like the popular person no one actually likes. And this is what I can't totally understand. It's like everyone's like, oh yeah, Bethany, like, oh, she sucks. Oh yeah, she's also the most popular girl at school. And everyone says that. And I'm thinking to myself, look, individually, you don't like her. And you think she's popular because you think the person next to you thinks she's popular. But if you look individually at every case, they all hate her. So if you guys all agree that she's not popular, then she loses everything and then no one wants to be friends with her because she's not popular and no one actually likes hanging out with her, which should really be the only reason why you hang out with someone. But I digress. I'm not here to solve middle school politics. I'm here to tell a story. And that's why you guys are here. But basically, Ava's not the nicest. She's kind of like that popular girl that is there because many reasons, but she's quite mean as well. Anyways, so a little bit before class starts, Mr. Davenport, with his is not pulled up yet. But once again, Buckley and Charlie are sitting in the back of class. And they look up and they're kind of looking at like Ava and her group of girls and they're kind of talking about her a little bit. Buckley's like, dude, imagine like we went on Ava and I went on a date. Like, dude, that'd be crazy. Charlie's like, yeah, but there's no shot you get her. And Buckley's like, dude, shut up. It's like one of those type of conversations, like definitely a Beavis and Butthead type conversation, respectfully. And that's when they hear this faint sound in the distance. You hear the Andrew Tate theme song. You hear the dula 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 vida dula 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 vida da 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 da. You know that song that like accompanied him everywhere when he was like super viral a year or 2 years ago? They hear that faintly in the distance. And once again, Charlie's like, or Buckley's like, I guess I'm going crazy. There's no way I hear the Andrew Tate theme song from so far away. No shot. Because, right, there's no way that you're hearing the Andrew Tate theme song coming from the hallway. Like, Charlie kind of looks at Buckley just like, for a second, kind of looking over like, wait, am I going crazy? Am I actually hearing this? Or am I actually losing my mind? But sure enough, it gets louder and louder and louder. It's kind of like the dula 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 vida dula 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 vida dula da 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 da. All over your For You pages in like 2022 with the Andrew Tate clips or whatever. Anyways, and then bam, the door slams open and you hear the song blasting. The dula dula dula, yeah, whatever. And this is when we look at Ben. And I want you to activate your imagination right here because it's a very important moment. Very important moment. Ben has the Andrew Tate sunglasses on. He has his dad's sport coat on, which is way too big. So he looks like a clown, which, by the way, advice to you guys, right? If you're looking to look nice in a suit and you don't want to spend a lot of money, you don't actually have to spend a lot of money to look nice. All you got to do, you can find something very, very cheap as long as it fits you. I almost can guarantee you someone can spend $2,000 on some fancy suit and look like a schmuck compared to you who spends $30 or $40 and just find something that fits you, or maybe spends a little bit on a tailor to get it fitted to you. Trust me, this is very practical advice, and you will thank me later in life if you remember this. But anyways, he has his like dad's sport coat on that looks like he's like a little kid playing dress up in his dad's closet, bro. And then he also has his dad's like dress shoes on, which are like 5 sizes too big. So it actually looks like he has clown shoes on. And yet he didn't get his dad's pants or whatever, so he's in sweatpants. Bro didn't even commit to the bit. And anyways, so Ben is just standing there, just staring at the class with his sunglasses on. And he just is he has like a Beats pill in his hand. And that's where like the Andrew Tate theme song is coming from. It's just like dula 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 vida dula 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 vida dula 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 dula. Yeah, and anyways, he eventually like turns off his Beats pill. So it goes, pew, turns off, and he walks straight towards Ava. And Ava's just looking at him like, why is this clown rapidly approaching me? Why is the circus spawning in next to my desk? what is going on right now? And at that point, Charlie, like, slowly starts looking over. Like, his eye slowly starts looking over. Buckley slowly starts looking over at Charlie, and they just kind of, like, very slowly lock eyes with each other, exchanging a, oh, hell no, this about to be bad type look. So anyways, Ben goes up to Ava in his, like, top G apparel, whatever. He's like, hello, milady. It is me, Top B. Bro actually is referring to himself as Top B instead of Andrew Tate calling himself Top G. Bro's like, I am Top B. Anyways, he's like, it is me, Top B. And then everyone's like laughing. Like, at first people are so shocked by what's going on that they're not laughing. But at this point, they're just like, what the hell? Anyways, he looks up, he's like, silence, you mere mortals, you peasants. It is I, Top B. How dare you laugh in my presence? And it's kind of just like, yo, what? Anyways, though, he's like, yes, milady. And he like looks at Ava again, which remember, Ava's giving him a death stare. She's not like looking away. She's not looking embarrassed. She's not looking this. She's not looking that. She is just angry. She is upset that he would even dare rope her in to such nonsense. She is disgusted by the fact that he would even contemplate the theory of bringing her into such garbage. And then to actually go ahead and do that is beyond her comprehension. It's beyond an insult, essentially. So he's like, yes, milady, as you might be able to tell, I am quite Sigma and very obviously an alpha male, as you can tell. And he like lifts up one hand, lets like the big sleeve roll down, and then like flexes his muscle, which let me just say, look, guys, I'm not a bodybuilder. So I'm not throwing shade if like, because Ben doesn't have big muscles, right? I don't have big muscles. That's okay. It's good to go to the gym. It's good to exercise. It's good, right? But if you want to go in and get big muscles, go ahead and do it. All I'm going to say is like, bro, if you clearly do not have big muscles, do not be flexing them to be like, look at my massive muscles. That's the difference, bro. So Ben like flexes, he's like, oh yeah, I'm also ripped as hell. He like flexes his arm. And you know that scene from SpongeBob where it's like SpongeBob is like flexing his arm and it's literally just like two bones with like his spongy skin on top of it. Basically that scene is happening right there. So anyways, the class is still laughing, but Ben's like, oh, okay, well, obviously you're mesmerized by my Sigma abilities. So I wanted to grant you an opportunity. You may, which I know you're gonna be shocked that I've decided to allow this, but you may go on a date with me. I know, you're probably so shocked. So, you know what? This Friday, 6 at night, that's the time. I cannot change my schedule. I'm a very busy man. I have 18 businesses, and 20 of them are billion-dollar businesses. So you cannot ask for a different time. Ava's like, no. He's like, I said you cannot ask for another time. She said, I don't want to go on a date with you. Like, very just like direct to the point. She's like seething with rage. And Ben's like, look, I understand there's definitely something in like human psychology when you're giving the greatest deal of all time that, you know, sometimes you just like are so in awe by how amazing of an opportunity you're being granted that you just fumble and you just give it up by accident. I totally understand that. But this is not, and then Ava's like, no, I'm not going on a date with you. Please sit down. And Ben's like, okay, delusional woman. Anyone would want to go on a date with me. I am the Top B. And he like storms away. And as Ben storms and slams down in his seat, you see the door open again. It's Mr. Davenport. And everyone's laughing at this point. So Mr. Davenport walks, he's like, all right, class, like, looks like you guys are in good spirits today. I'm not sure why, but, you know, maybe I don't want to know. Anyways, open your books to page 30. We'll go back, we'll, you know, kind of get into that right away. You know, we'll talk about the reading you guys had last night. Anyways, Ben is sitting there steaming. And at this point, right, Buckley and Charlie are just, like, trying their best not to, like, die from laughter. Like, they're doing their best not to, like, asphyxiate, basically suffocating from the lack of air by the amount that they're laughing, right? They're not getting enough oxygen inflow from how crazy this was. Anyways, though, so Ben plays it cool for the next 2 weeks. And now we finally get to today, the day of reckoning, the day where Ben's empire of cringe and Gen Alpha brain rot and thinking he's Sigma finally comes to an end. On this very day, Buckley wakes up 6 in the morning after going to bed at 4 in the morning because he was up all night playing Fortnite with with Charlie. Anyways, Buckley drags himself out of the house, gets on the bus, walks to the back, sees Charlie half asleep, sits down next to him, turns to Charlie, he's like, bro, we cannot be doing this. I can't keep doing this. And Charlie's like, bro, we're grinding duos right now. We gotta keep grinding. We can't let school get in front of that. And Buckley's like, but dude, I feel like ass right now. Charlie's like, yo, just persevere. Anyways, so they get in, and they're just half asleep for most of those classes. And then the first class Charlie and Buckley have together is the class that they have with Ben, which has been the premise of the last 2 stories I just told you, or the last 2 mini stories in this video. So anyways, they kind of wander on into class, not knowing how insane of a day this was about to be. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, I want you to comment chair down below. It has no relation to anything in the story, but I'm looking at a chair right now. So comment that down below if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify. I just like to see the names and faces of people who made it this far into the video. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please make sure that you've subscribed with notifications on, left a like in the video to claim your free nothing. But also, if you're listening on YouTube, we're on Spotify. These stories are also on Spotify if you like using that. And if you're a Spotify listener, make sure you follow the podcast and rated it 5 stars. And finally, if you want to submit your own story, as these are all user-submitted stories or subscriber-submitted stories, go to Instagram, look up Connor Pugs. I have over 1 million on there because I post reels that do really well. And I want you to follow me and then message me your story. Please do not message me, do you want to hear my story? Just message me the whole story. Don't ask, just tell me. Assume it's me, and you can and I will go through it and check through those. And finally, if you want to see my day-to-day and you use Snapchat, go on Snapchat, look up Connor Pugs, CONNOR, PUGS, one word. I'm verified with a star. You can see what I do outside. You can see what I do during the day when I'm not telling stories, which is most of my day is not telling stories. So if you're curious about that, go on, add me on there. And with that being said, let's get into the pinnacle of cringe. Let's get into the peak of Gen Alpha brain rot. Let's get into the reasons, the true nitty-gritty reasons of why Gen Alpha is cooked. So when Charlie and Buckley stumble into class, they notice something very different. First of all, someone is sitting in Mr. Davenport's chair, which is weird because Mr. Davenport's always 2 or 3 minutes late to class. I mean, he's a very laid-back teacher. He's very chill, and he also has a very chill schedule of him pulling up. So that also means if anyone comes late, usually it's school rules or whatever. If anyone's a couple minutes late to class, they get a strike against them, and then if there's 2 violations, they have to go to the principal's office. They're very this school is very, very specific on punctuality. But since Mr. Davenport plays it loose, he's literally let kids come in 8, 9 minutes late, and it just gives them a little look yeah, you got to be here a little sooner, but doesn't do anything. So super chill teacher. So someone was there before Buckley got in there, which Buckley was a minute early. And then he looks closer, right? And he sees that Mr. Davenport's not there. Anyways, this woman who's 65 stands up. It's hunched over and is I am Miss Jones. I am your substitute teacher today. Yeah, everyone sit down and be quiet. This is the type of teacher, this is the type of substitute teacher we're getting. So basically, Miss Jones has been notorious at the school. So she has taught there for 40 years. And everyone's dude, if you get Miss Jones, you're cooked. It's over for you. It's literally so done. She has failed so many students before when kids really don't fail at the school. You just keep getting help till you get there. She fails kids all the time. It's bad. So anyways, they're all sitting in class. Miss Jones is all right, class, I want you to open up to the books. I want you to recite the blah, blah, blah. She's doing her whole thing, whatever. So thankfully, like, I think Mr. Davenport was, like, out for a day or something. So, you know, Miss Jones was like, I will happily terrorize your class, too. You know, terrorizing my classes isn't enough. Let me terrorize yours. Anyways, Ben was on 2 weeks of good behavior, and today he decides to do something stupid. Today's the day he decides to mess up massively in a way that will permanently scar him. And it's bad. Anyways, so Ben is sitting towards closer to the back of the class. And Ben decided to bring in his iPad, which is a very big no-no at this school. No phones, no iPads, no nothing, right? Even like on the school bus, that isn't like, it's like loosely related, you're not even out to school yet. They still care. Like they still majorly care. So anyways, he brings out his iPad. And like at this point, Buckley and Charlie are like not really paying attention. They're kind of spacing out. And they see Ben like under his table typing away on his iPad. And Buckley's like watching Ben, sees what he types, and then this disgusting images start appearing on his iPad. Buckley's like, dude, what? He kind of nudges Charlie, like points him over to look at Ben because he's a couple rows in front of them so they can see like what he's doing. And Charlie's like, dude, what? And you can hear Ben giggling. He's like, hee, just laughing, giggling, whatever. And anyways, Ben starts like tapping people and like showing them his iPad. And everyone's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, God, that's gross. Yeah, so anyways, he's like showing people and giggling. They're all like having a terrible reaction. Which, by the way, this is like Mr. Davenport, I think worst case scenario would have confiscated the iPad. I think most likely he would have just ignored it unless Ben got progressively more and more distracting, which he could have been. Honestly, Ben could have gotten to the point where he was like more and more and more and more distracting, almost like when he was singing the Skibidi Toilet song and just would not stop. But we honestly will never know because Miss Davenport cuts him short. Ben was showing someone something on his iPad, and they were like, dude, what? And Miss Davenport, unfortunately for Ben, at that very moment, turns around from the board, turns around from like whatever, and looks at him, and she's like, Ben, what is that? And Ben's like, oh, literally deer in headlights, frozen. And look, not Miss Davenport, right? Miss Jones. Miss Jones turns around. And Miss Jones, for being an old lady, right, just doesn't sprint towards him, but has some crazy power walk. Like literally spawns in right next to him and grabs his iPad. Ben did not have time to turn off his iPad. Buckley saw what Ben was looking at on his iPad. It was bad. Not only did Ben break a fairly important school rule of no electronics, can't even have them. If like your parents need to contact you, they can contact the main desk who can find the teacher. If you're in class, they can find you. Not only did he break a major school rule here, but he also was terrorizing his classmates with some pretty sus stuff. Anyways, Miss Jones is already pretty mad. She's like, Ben, you know, you're not supposed to have an iPad. Apparently, she knew Ben. They must have had like class together years ago. Like, Ben, you're not allowed to have any electronics in school. And she picks up the iPad. Unfortunately for Ben, it didn't like auto shut off or something, or she didn't click the out button or the power button. It was just on to what he was looking at. And Miss Jones, this turns the iPad around, looks at it, dead silence for like 5 seconds. But those 5 seconds felt like 10 years. And then she's like, what the hell is this? And Ben's like, and she's like, no, this is too far, young man. Yeah, so I want you to let me know in the comments section below, either on YouTube or Spotify. Let me know if you think Miss Jones went too far for this, because she flipped out and she was like determined to teach this kid a lesson. So she's like, no, Ben. And she's looking at Ben and he's just looking down. His face is so red. And the whole, so like some kids knew what was up because like the kids he tormented with were probably thinking, oh no, your actions are having consequences. But like the rest of the class is so confused because they're like, okay, he has an iPad, that sucks. But usually when you have your iPad, it's confiscated. They keep it till the end of the week. They tell your parents, like it's a whole deal. But like usually it's dealt with like, okay, grabbing your iPad, let's go back to class. But she flipped out when she saw the iPad. So the rest of the class was starting to realize that something was going down. But, right, they weren't super sure, like, they were still, like, unsure of the depths of it. She said, you know what, class, everyone look at your textbooks. Everyone's like, yo, what the fuck, what? Like, look at your textbooks? What do you mean? She's like, look at them. And so she goes up to the front desk, and she calls up the principal. It's like, I need you to get Ben's mom here right now. And everyone's like, ooh, and Ben's like, oh no. Here's the bad news. Ben's mom was driving in the area, just happened to be when she got a call from the principal demanding that she goes to school and sees Ben in his class right then and there. So Ben, for like 5 minutes, is sitting there sweating. And like everyone is like silently like reading their textbooks. In reality, no one's actually reading the textbook. Everyone's like, what is going on? They're like trying to whisper to each other. And Miss Jones is like, no whispering, read your textbook. And it's like 5 excruciating minutes. And that's when the door opens up. And Ben's mom walks in. And Miss Jones is like, yes, Miss Finney. Let's come with the last name. Yes, Miss Finney. Your son Ben over there, we got to have a little conversation. She's like, oh, okay. She's like, he brought his iPad to school. She's like, oh, yeah, Ben, you shouldn't do that. Low-key, Ben's mom do not care. But Miss Finney's like, Miss Jones is like, oh, Miss Finney, but it wasn't just the fact that Ben was using his iPad. He was using it inappropriately in class and disturbing the other classmates. He's like, let's go through his searches together. And that's when Buckley looks at Charlie with this kind of look of like, oh no, she didn't, bro, no. Like, this is next level. Yeah, so it gets pretty bad pretty quick. And, at this point, Ben's like, no, this is checkmate and slamming the chessboard like in his face. Like, it's bad. So she's like, Miss Jones is like, this first search result, skibidi toilet, and then bleep, 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 a lot of stuff that's bad. He found the most depraved corners of the internet that combined brain rot and depravity, bro. It's bad. And he thought it was hilarious because it was so edgy and skibidi and Gen Alpha cringy. Like, I don't even know why he was looking at that stuff. But that's when Miss Jones says what it is and then shows Ben's mom. It's the most embarrassing thing ever. And she starts going through all of his searches. Is like Andrew Tate, bleep, 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 like all like skibidi, bleep, bleep, bleep. Like it's so bad. It is so bad. I can't even tell you any more of it. Just imagine more bad. Just imagine it's bad, okay? So at this point, Ben is absolutely mortified. And, Miss Jones is like, all right, that's all I wanted. Here, please take Ben's iPad. And that's all. Thank you, Miss Finney. And Ben's mom, like, turns around and walks out. And Miss Jones turns to the chalkboard. Is like, all right, class, open up to page 50, whatever, right? As if nothing happened. And Ben is just like, his head's down on the desk. He's never looking up again. He is never leaving. And from that point on, look, Charlie and Buckley, they're not like close to Ben, so they don't know what happened. I have a sneaking suspicion that Ben's mom doesn't really punish him that much. Maybe is like has a conversation with them, but like in my opinion, that's cruel and unusual punishment. I'm low-key not for what the teacher did in this story. Like that, in my opinion, that goes way too far. But let me know what you guys think.